learn over a period of time and acquire skills. My interaction with Enfold team actually helped me in broadening my own understanding in several things, and I hope many people would get similar experience. I really thankful for Enfold team to accept this invitation and to be resource person. Before my handing over to Dr. Thomas sir, I will just share few do's and do nots to the participants, because we as per the registrations, we know that this is a mixture of people, not only family caregivers. We know that there are some students from mental health professional background, and some kind of RCA certified professionals are also there. So we request one and everyone to mute their mic and to preferably type their questions in the chat, so that we can compile and we can ask the resource persons as well as the chairperson. At the end of the session, perhaps when with the permission of chairperson, we can take up questions also in person. Somebody can unmute and they can raise questions. I hand over to Dr. Thomas sir for introducing Enfold team and take the session forward. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Harish. And it is my privilege, and it's indeed a great honor. It is not a cliche when I say it's an honor to chair this session for several reasons. As I go along with introducing this particular topic, I'll be sharing these things. Being professionals, parents, families, we all are aware as far as disabilities, concerned, and people with disabilities are concerned. Among several areas, will be very comfortable. We talk about education, we talk about vocational training, employment, but there is one area that we often either ignorant about it, or the information that is available would not be adequate, as Dr. Harish has told in the very beginning, to address various kinds of challenges that we face both either at a family level or at the clinical level. So therefore, when you look at the literature, it is no wonder that the disparities in terms of service delivery, information, knowledge around sex and sexuality and reproductive health is very dismal among people with disabilities. And the negative impacts are much more palpable among people with developmental disabilities, being that those having cognitive issues and intellectual problems. So why is it so? The question might come. One, we might, including the professionals, might think that persons with developmental disorders, quote unquote, those with intellectual and developmental disabilities, may be asexual, that they may not have any kind of sexuality expressions and the needs. And the second one is that they are so childlike that they may not understand age appropriate developmental needs, and let alone the expression of it. And there comes the barriers. What are the barriers? One, our own recognition that everybody, the way when we talk about an individual as an emotional being, cognitive being, similarly, they're also sexual being, this expression becomes so obvious with the increasing age, number one. And the second one is the discrimination, that even if you recognize the person in question, is at a stage to explore a newer dimension, whether it could be in the form of interpersonal relationship, friendships, or maybe looking forward to marriage, etc., then we may not be really paying adequate attention to these issues. So lack of appropriate information, both from the research point of view, resource material, and this entire cycle goes on like this one. And now, what is the literature talking about? One of the best way to address is that there has to be a good communication, that is both flowing from as well as out between the professionals, parents, and the individual. That is that just because we are trained in mental health, it doesn't mean that we will have certain advantage to understand the things. For that, we need to interact with individuals with the developmental disabilities, their families, work in a multidisciplinary setting, gain from each other, and source right information, put it out there for families, and then educate and empower them. So in this backdrop, we may need to work with multidisciplinary professionals. And therefore, I'm very delighted, and when I said it's my privilege, that Department of Psychiatry, Psychiatric Rehabilitation Services have thought about this topic, which usually people cling or they either ignore. So I'm very proud that I work with Dr. Harish and his colleagues here. And then the second one is they've got the apt resource people, Enfold, to have the right kind of people who have been continuously working is very rare in a particular area, and the area like sexuality. And this is where I've got my own amazing learning experiences, by being in touch with them. I echo the thoughts expressed by my colleague, Dr. Harish, that indeed even I have learned a lot of perspectives as to how to understand, not just approach. So that is still I'm in a learning process. Here I have great respect for Dr. Sangeeta Saxena, her colleague Dr. Sharda Saldana, who I think is not here among the team here. And another special mention to Mrs. Renu Singh, who is a parent professional and who is very articulate, perceptive, and very vocal about the rights of people with disabilities. So in this regard, ma'am, it's a great honor. Like the countless people who are there on this platform and those who are watching, I'm also one among them. I'm eagerly looking forward to more learning from you and your team. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for all your kind words, Dr. Thomas and Dr. Harish. In fact, Dr. Thomas supported us in a very big way in developing the Suvidha kit, and we'll be showing you some of the materials in that. And in the manual itself, we have special mention of Dr. Thomas Kishore in guiding us through all of this. And it is through a multidisciplinary approach that we can bring out something nice and worthwhile. So without much ado, we will get into the way we have planned it is that I'll be taking you through some of the principles, some of the basic understanding of the principles of personal safety education and sexuality education. And then Renu Singh will be taking you through through how to do it, some of the materials that we have, and practically how do we do it. And we hope to leave at least half an hour for questions, if not more. So let us see how this goes. I will begin with presenting. Share screen, yes. Just a moment. Okay. So let me just. I think you can see the side view also, but just wanted to see the whole screen. Yeah.
It is visible, ma'am. Maybe yeah. Maybe you'd like to make it full slide, madam.
Slideshow?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so this is the topic, and we will. So what our purpose is in this session, because of the length of the session, we would not be able to cover all of this. But the main idea is to make adults develop comfort with the topic of sexuality and reproductive health and understand sexual development right from the time the child is born. And another major focus that we have is how do you support children and young adults in learning personal safety rules, as well as the tools, the culturally appropriate tools and value-based education that can be given here. And then also support your adolescents and young adults or adults with intellectual disabilities in learning the basics of reproductive health and sexuality etiquette. So when we go into developing comfort with the topic of sexuality, this unfortunately for hundreds, if not thousands of years, this has been shrouded in shame and silence. And shame is a feeling that is intensely distressing to people. So they want to avoid it at all costs. Sometimes to so much so that they would hide it from themselves itself. Like if they have done something and you shame them for it, the child or the adult is likely to turn around and say, I never did it, and also convince themselves in some ways that they never did it, because that feeling of shame is so intensely distressing. So we try to take this out of the picture, because shame is something that we have put in these parts of the bodies. Shame is something that we have attributed to certain actions. It is not inherent in the body part. You know, many of us are doctors here, and no part in our anatomy textbook was labeled shame. They all had their proper names, and unfortunately, for various reasons, maybe rooted in gender bias, maybe rooted in, we're not sure what the cause may have been, but
actually Zoom cloud meeting.
For generations, we stopped talking about it. So when we stopped talking about it, we lost the names for these parts of the body. My parents didn't know, my grandparents didn't know. So very likely that I also don't know, but then the part is very much there and people are talking about it. So what replaced the parts, the proper names of these parts was, casual words. And because shame was associated with these parts, they became swear words or some ways to dishonor somebody or something. So these were the slang words that came into use. And we routinely go into classrooms and routinely we hear these slang words being used. It's not as if children don't know these parts. They know they exist, of course they know, but they don't have the words for it, proper words for it. And on top of that, there is a lot of shame attached. So our entire focus is to make people comfortable with their body parts. And we say that, this is something that nature has made. It is not something you and I chose which part I will have, which part I won't have. It is given by nature. And just like we respect every part of the body, we need to respect these parts as well, and all the functions of the body. We need to have respect for all the functions of the body. Some functions of the body, like eliminatory functions where we pass urine or motion, we tend to look down upon it, but one day of constipation is enough to make us feel really uncomfortable. And so this kind of discrimination between body parts, a lot of respect for the brain, wow, a lot of respect for the heart, but then what about other parts of the body? Right? So that is the kind of approach we take to look at developing comfort with sexuality, with the desires that are there, and then proceed. And also for the words, we don't insist that people use anatomical English words. First of all, they're in English. So that itself creates a distance. And in many, many, many homes, to mention a part by its anatomical name, like vagina, penis, vulva, scrotum, it would be very, very odd, very odd. Until the child or the person can learn to use these words appropriately in the social context, and we will do some of those social rules about talking. Until then, we feel it is okay to refer to these parts, especially small children, by colloquial words which don't have any shame or anything attached to it, like susu, kaka, or potty. So susu jaga, potty jaga is enough to give the child the vocabulary to report sexual abuse, the vocabulary to say there is something itching or wrong or something happening over here, to report unsafe touch and all of that. So we don't insist that you go by the English words over there, anatomical English words, something that is culturally appropriate, accepted, but unambiguous. It is not a flower you are naming it, you're not calling it the parrot, you're not calling it hua, or you're not calling it bangaru or something like that, you're not calling it chame. No, because that kind of has connotations which we don't want over here. So when we are approaching this safety education, we can't live in a constant state of fear. Who will do what to me or to my children, or to my sibling, or to whoever I'm taking care of? No, the world is inherently a safe space. Life has thrived on it, and we are thriving on it. Crime is not the norm. Crime is what gets reported in the newspapers. It is news. It's not the norm. We tend to somehow feel that there is so much of this, so much of that. Yes, because of so much silence and shame around this, child sexual abuse has reached enormous proportions. But that doesn't mean that, if in the Government of India study, it said that 53% of our children are sexually abused, it doesn't mean that 53% of our adult population is made up of abusers. It is not. Very few people whom you know, you may not in fact even know.
Dr. Harish, madam's mic is muted.
So it is a safe space. Most adults care for children, want to keep them safe, and child safety is an adult responsibility, of course. But as the child grows or develops, you will have agency of the child, and then the child can report. You can encourage the child to report those kind of things. So you don't have to be overprotective and alarming. You don't have to say, don't touch anyone, don't this, don't. No. Touch is very important for us. Touch is the first sense that develops in our bodies when we are small fetuses. And it remains very, very important part of our lives and mental well-being. And so focus on clear rules, and Renu will talk about that. Focus on the ability when we're talking of persons with disabilities. And when it comes to sexuality education, you will be looking at, as I mentioned before, value-based and rules-based conversation. It is rules and rights. We focus on the rights of the individual. While you have a right to express your opinions, your desires, when it comes to sexuality, it may involve another person, and there you have to be mindful of their rights and what they need and what they want. And all forms of sexual desires that arise, the fantasies that arise, are normal and natural. However, their expression needs to be appropriate and according to the existing norms, and the law of the land also comes in here. When you are discussing it with the person about sexual desires and expression, do focus on the boundaries and rules about the intimate needs that the person has. So it's not that something is bad and you shouldn't do it. It is where and how and when and with whom. It has to be age appropriate, and there needs to be a lot of emphasis on boundaries and respect for the other. So I think with this, we will, sorry, how do I go back? So when you're starting sexuality education, like anything else, needs to begin early in early childhood. There was a case where the child was, the person had gone for a home visit to see this child that they've been following up. The child was 11 years now with intellectual disability. And the child was in the toilet taking a bath. And then when the child came out, she just walked out without any clothing at all and came and sat down on the sofa to talk, to see what's going on. And later on, when the person who was paying the visit asked what happened here, like how come the child came out like this, the family said, oh, when she was small, she was too small. It was okay. It was cute. The child is running nanga panga around the house. It was all very nice, maybe up to even 5 years, 6 years, And then after that, when she was 7 and 8 and started growing, we didn't know how to tell her. But now her body is also changing and we are feeling very uncomfortable, but nobody in the house knows what to tell the child. She's 11 years. No, 11 years have gone by without any input on this. Okay, so early input, regular, repeated inputs, the principles are the same. Just like anything else you would like to support the person in learning, same thing applies here in sexuality education and safety education. Who are the people who can do this? Of course, parents, givers, but don't forget the siblings. The older siblings, the teachers, trainer, therapists, medical professionals, many of us are here, and higher functioning peer educators, right? So that can be looked into. And here I will request Renu to please take over. And Renu, if you want to present or show some things, then I can stop share and you can take the, we can show.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, we can make Renu Madam the co-host and she can control the presentation.
Sir, Renu ma'am is already the co-host.
Then Madam, you can show the slides or change the PPT the way you want.
So how do I change the slides?
No, Renu, you'll have to present it from your computer.
Okay. All right. Sure. I think we don't have too many slides, so it's okay. I think, ma'am, you're presenting, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, so we'll work together. So thank you so much, ma'am. I think we have covered most of the things that we wanted to share. I will be dealing with the ways that we can teach our young individuals as well as older individuals. The slides say sexuality education for persons with ASD, but this applies to all individuals with other intellectual disabilities. Also, this applies to them also. But for individuals with autism, there are specific methods which work best for them. That is why these things can be used with them definitely. But these work with all children. Even our regular children also learn through these methods. But they learn it automatically. They learn it from their environment. They don't. Our children in the mainstream or neurotypicals, as we call them, they learn it from their environment automatically. They learn by seeing, they learn by observing the others, and they learn by reading also. But our individuals with intellectual disabilities or especially with autism, they have to be taught everything directly. So what kind of methods and what materials work with them? The best materials or the best methods are which are visual. Visual materials, visual methods if we use these, they work best with everyone. But for people with intellectual disabilities, that is the best method that we can use. We can use a lot of visual materials like social stories or social scripts, which can have pictures as well as text. We can use a lot of pictures which are in cards form, which can be used as flashcards, or we can also use file folder activities, which will give them something to look at and something to do. Children learn best by doing, not just by looking or hearing. So if you give them something which they can work with, which they can manipulate or they can do, then they learn best. So here we can use multisensorial learning, where we are giving them the visuals, we are talking to them, we are giving them text form, as well as we are using a lot of movement also. So kinesthetic learning also works best with them. So along with that, use visual materials, because if the visual materials are there, they are in a tangible form. So they are concrete and they'll be there, which they can see, which they can learn through. If we just through lectures, our neurotypical children, most of our neurotypical children, they learn through talking or through lectures, or when we tell them, they can follow and they can listen, they can follow and they can learn. But if we give the children something tangible, something to look at, it will be there in front of them. So,
yes, would you like to show the
yes, sure. All right. Yes. We were talking about naming the body parts, or we are talking about clothing rules and touching rules. So as visual materials, this is what we have developed in the kit. All these materials are part of the Suvidha kit. These we call as puppets. So these are just like bodies for this is the young boy and this is the older boy. So these can be manipulated. The clothes can be removed. So all the clothes are on Velcros. And as you see, we have showed all the body parts. The materials that you see in the books or in the charts, regular charts, they don't show the private parts. This portion is always covered. So we are not talking about these. We are not showing them these. We are not teaching the children to name these. But using these materials, front and back, we can use these materials to teach them the names of the body parts. And it is okay to touch here, but it is not okay to touch here. These are your private parts under this, and then name them. Use proper names, use the scientific names, which we can teach the children initially as well as later on also. So use these materials. Similarly, this is the young boy and this is the adolescent boy. So the adolescent boy will have body changes. So here we're using this, we can talk about body changes as well. We can talk about pubic hair, and we can talk about bigger genitals and body hair. So looking at these pictures and removing the clothes and working with this, it is easier for the children or the adolescents to learn. Similarly, for girls, we have these. So the young girl, this is the young girl, and this is the older girl with body changes. Then I was talking about flashcards. So when we talk about privacy rules, or when we talk about private body parts, we talk about private spaces. First of all, the children have to learn what is private and what is public. So the concept of private and public has to be taught. And then what are the rules that they need to follow in public? What are the clothing rules? What are the touching rules? So for that, we can use these cards. So as you see, these cards are of places, different places in public and private. So this boy is naked, and there'll be cards with boy in clothes. So using these cards, a lot of things can be taught. We have cards for teaching sexuality etiquettes and touching rules, touching self. These are the cards for masturbation. So you can see all the cards are quite explicit. So using these, there is a lot of things that we can teach them. Besides these materials, what we call is social stories or social scripts. So we have these books, and we have these books on various topics. So suppose I'm taking this topic about the boy, the body changes in the boy's body. So in these books, as we see, there is just a simple text with a very clear picture which the children can comprehend. So we are talking about body changes, we are talking about what is happened, and it is okay that these things happen, and these things happen to all boys. And there's a book on erections. So having erections is okay, but if you have erection in public, what to do? So all these rules, you can see these. So using these books, it's very easy for the individuals to comprehend and to retain the information. So when we give them the visual material, they're able to look at that, and the information is retained in their minds. Yes. So can we go back to the slide now?
Yeah.
Then we can have, I showed you the puppets, then we can have simple organizing puzzles, body puzzles, like the one which we have developed. This is a simple, very simple puzzle of a boy or a girl, and this is the front body and back body. So the children they can just attach these body parts to complete the puzzle. So this is a very fun way and interesting way to learn body parts and a lot of safety rules as well. So this also can be used.
I just want to add here that sometimes for a non-verbal child, you wouldn't know whether the child knows the names of the body parts. The child may know it, but not able to verbalize it. So you would know the child has understood when you ask, and then they pick up the appropriate body part, or they place it in the correct place.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Yes, so for children who are non-verbal, who cannot use their words, these books, these materials are really very good to ask them and to make them understand, as well as to get expressions from them, get answers from them, know whether they have understood or not. So, so visual materials are very important. They can be used. Some children, they don't like visual materials. It is possible. So with them, we can use auditory materials. We can use we can use text materials, materials which have more text, or the videos also. But the videos are definitely visuals. So I just wanted to bring that point that I know, because I know a few students of mine who don't learn visually. They learn better if they hear the audio files and they hear us speaking to them, are talking to them. So, and then the second point, as we see, is consistency. So consistency in teaching is very, very important for our children to learn better and retain the information. So use the same language, use the same words, and state the same rules clearly in the beginning. So in the beginning, use the same words, same language, and once they have learned, once we know that they have learned the initial basics, then after that, generalization is very important. For generalization, we can use different materials. So start with same materials, same language, same words, and same pictures. And once they have learned it in one particular setting using one material. So for generalizing the same learning in other settings with other people, with other materials, use a lot of other materials. Then we are talking about experiential learning. So this is learning through experiences. For individuals or for children who have a higher cognitive level, who can understand more, we can use role plays, and we can use incident-oriented teaching or discussions. So have role plays or situation-based, we can have situations where we give the child situations or create situations in the class or at home, and then we can ask them whether they have understood or not. And all of, we talk about, sorry, excuse me.
Renu, I will take over.
Yeah, just 2 minutes, ma'am. I need a break. My daughter has come. She has autism and she's 15 years old, and she has some she's not well this time. So I'll just take 2 minutes to talk to her and then come back. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we can do give them simple situations. What if a period start, and go on doing the role plays until the child gets the kind of response, starts giving the kind of response that you are looking for. In some cases, and this is again, some doctors and nurses could do this. where they actually demonstrate. They would demonstrate how to use a pad, where it is put to the child actually on their body in person. And this can also be done for masturbation. And this can be demonstrated and shown, or the child or the adolescent supported to learn how it can be done, and with the proper, of course, safety in place. So there would be another safe person in attendance when the professional is demonstrating this. In some cases, the parent themselves may be the person who's demonstrating. So maintaining boundaries becomes important for especially the professionals when they are demonstrating. So use of gloves if they are touching the other person's body, those kind of safety features need to be there. The natural environment teaching and learning. So this is in day-to-day settings, and this is actually, like Renu was saying, it is true for any child, any person. It's not just something you learn in the books or something when, okay, now let us learn about personal safety. It is in your day-to-day learning. Yeah, Renu, please take over.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Yes, so personal safety and sexuality etiquette learning is not a tabletop activity which can be limited to a classroom or just 1 hour in a day or just a specific time. This has to go on throughout the day and throughout our life. So the earlier we start, the better the children will learn and retain. And whenever we have an opportunity during the daytime, in the natural environment, we can teach them so many rules, so many things. So whenever we get an opportunity, use it. Like when the children are very young and we are helping them during their bathing or during toileting. At that time itself, the teaching can start, and we can help them. We can talk about the rules, that it is okay to touch here, it is not okay to touch here. These are your private parts. This is your penis, this is your scrotum, or this is the vagina, and these are your private parts. We are not supposed to talk about these in public. You can talk about these with your safe adults. So that is how we can start with, and we can continue this throughout the day. Whenever we get an opportunity, use the opportunity to teach them. And if you see that there is some particular incident which is which you feel that there is something that we have to interfere or immediately. So any problematic behavior that arises, or any inappropriate behavior that you see the child is indulging in, maybe at home or in public, at school, anywhere, then take that opportunity to teach. What I would like to share here and tell the parents is that whenever something happens, whenever some inappropriate behavior happens, whether it is in public, in the society, or in school, outside home, let us not get very anxious. Let us not overreact. Let us not react to that. Let us not show our anger or let's get stressed about it. Let's try to be as calm as possible. And later on, at that time, handle the situation to the best of your ability. Suppose I will give you the example of a child who is young, or maybe a older adolescent child, and he wants to go to the toilet, but he doesn't know how to ask. He might be a non-verbal person, or he might not know the place where there is a toilet, and he might not be asking for it, and he might try to pull down his pants in public. And suppose the child pulls down his pants. It can be a girl or a boy, anybody. And at that time, how do we react? Usually at that time, we get very flustered, we get very upset and anxious. Oh, what are you doing? Oh my God, this is not so good, bad boy. That is usually how we react. Or shame, chi. Let us not do that. try to be as calm as possible and try to help the child wear his pants, her pants, and say that it is not okay to remove your pants in public. Do you want to go to the toilet? Let us go. You can remove your pants in the toilet. So that is how we can speak to the child. And later on, when the child is calm and we are calm at home, we, at that time, use the time to talk to the child and tell the child that it is not okay what you did there, and teach the rules. So it can be any situation. It can be any touching thing, any inappropriate touching or anything. So so try to use the opportunity during daytime as much as possible whenever a situation arises and whenever you get an opportunity.
Would very much like to add here, that let us respond to the situation and not get pulled into it.
Absolutely.
Not become reactionary. Oh, what will people say? It is a, it's a commentary on me. What kind of a parent or teacher have I been? I haven't, my child is doing this. Hello, everybody knows and can understand and can see, right? In India, we have the situation where usual adults, a lot of men are passing urine in public, right?
Yeah, and scratching themselves in public. Yes.
There, excuse me, we are absolutely quiet about it. We don't say anything. But here, if a child with an ID is doing something, or an adult with an ID is doing something, all hell is breaking loose. Why? Let us respond. Keep your calm, keep your cool. It's not it's not a crime that the person is committing. There's no intention for them to expose themselves in public, and it's not that.
Yes. So so for others, for us, let us not have a guilt feeling that my child is doing this and it is my fault, or blame the child and shame the child that you have not learned this, you are a bad boy, this is chichi, this is bad behavior. We use the terms good boy, good girl, bad boy, bad girl, bad behavior very often, very loosely we use these terms. The children don't even know what is good and bad. They might not even know what is good and bad. Good and bad are subjective terms. When we say good touch, bad touch, again, that is also a very ambiguous, because good and bad, they are subjective terms. They are subject to interpretations and perception. So we can always call them safe and unsafe, okay, not okay, right and wrong. So we can do this, and always it's not the child's fault or the fault of the individual who is not behaving appropriately. It is not their fault because they have not been taught the rules. They have not learned how to behave appropriately in a social situation. So it is as adults and as educators and as caregivers, it is our responsibility to teach them the way that they can learn and they can follow. So let us do that. And always acknowledge positive behavior. We as elders, or we as neurotypicals, we consider ourselves as like superior, and we feel that whatever we do is right, and whatever the child is doing it, for every wrong thing that the child is doing it, we pinpoint, we say this is not okay, this is not okay. But what about the things that the child is doing good or the child is following? What about the rules that the child is following? We ignore those. We don't say, we don't acknowledge it. We don't praise our children enough. But for our children, especially with children with special needs or intellectual disabilities, they need a lot of encouragement, and they need their good behavior or the correct behavior to be acknowledged. So let us praise them, make them feel understood and appreciated. So be generous with your appreciations and praises whenever they are following rules. Immediately say, acknowledge and say, I'm happy that you followed rules. You are so smart. That was so smart of you. You followed the rules. That is so good. So always acknowledge their behavior, their good behavior. So, these were a few of the things that we can do to ensure that whatever we are teaching our children, they learn the best way. And So should I do this also, ma'am? Masturbation in the social setting? This was just an example, because one of the major concerns of children, of parents or caregivers of adolescents is masturbation in social settings, masturbation or touching themselves in public. So they are really really don't know what to do. So I'll just take you through the ways that we can handle this, because it's a very important example which we can talk about and discuss here. So, so whenever you see that a adolescent or a child, even a child, young children, they do indulge in self-stimulation. We should not call it masturbation before adolescence or before puberty. Before puberty, it is self-stimulation. So they might be getting just some kind of sensory pleasure out of it. So they might like touching their genitals, so they will do it. Masturbation, we call the same touching masturbation when adolescents do it, when they have reached puberty. Then if they are doing it intentionally, then we call it masturbation. So as you see, whenever you see there is an incident of a child touching himself, touching his or her genitals, it can be a girl also. So at that time, say no, calmly again, no blaming, no scolding, no punishment. Just say, no, it is not okay to touch yourself here. So that is how we can tell them. And then what we can do immediately at that time is to distract them from what they were doing it. Masturbation or touching their genitals, it is quite pleasurable because the genitals are very sensitive, and it can be pleasurable for children to indulge in repeatedly. So what is important is that we distract them from that activity. We engage their mind and body and their hands in something else, which is more interesting for them. So, so masturbation is often done out of boredom. So to avoid that boredom, we can engage the child meaningfully in some activity of their choice. So it can be any activity. It can be something to read or write if they want to do, or some fine motor activity, or some sports or physical activity which we can involve them in. So try to distract them, try to get their mind away from masturbation. And for adolescents, we suggest and we advise a lot of physical exercise. Physical exercise, make them do lots of physical exercise, run, walk, play sports, outdoor sports, so that they also get a chance to regulate their hormones. During adolescence, there is the hormones, the body hormones are like they are going up and down. There is a lot of imbalance happening there. So if we engage them in a lot of physical exercise, those hormones also get leveled. So that will help them. That will help them control their sexual urges also. And then state the rules clearly. You can touch yourself, you can touch your private parts, or you can masturbate at night. State the rules that at this time you can do. Daytime is for other activities. Daytime is for learning, daytime is for activities, daytime is for doing your chores. So if you want to touch yourself, you can do it at night, in your room, in private. So here we are setting the boundaries. First boundary is nighttime only. Second boundary is your room or your private space. And third boundary is in private or without nobody, there is nobody there around you. So these rules are important here.
Renu, here, if you could show that file folder, which has, those, you can put another puppet in the room.
Yes, sure. So I have it. I have it here.
Actually, there was a case where there was an adult person, and he had been told that you can go to your room and change your clothes, but you must shut the door and your window should be closed. So this day he went into his room, he shut the door, he put the chitkani, he closed the curtains and all, and he took off his clothes and he started changing them. The maid was sweeping the floor. Nobody had told him that there should not be anyone else in the room. The children can be very literal in this. So be careful about the rules that you are stating.
Yes. So there is one material that we have included in our Suvidha kit. Here, this we call it as a file folder. So on this side, you see we have 2 pages. On this side, we have a lot of pictures showing public places and private places as well. So in this, and all these boys cutouts, these are boy cutouts which are detachable on Velcros. So the activity is that the child has to match these puppets with the pictures, with the correct picture. So there is a naked boy, a child without clothes here, and the other boys are appropriately dressed. And the second page here has a child who is touching himself, who's got his hands inside the pants. I think that is missing here. So there is a child who has his hands inside his pants and he's touching himself, and all the pictures are there. So we are talking about clothing rules and touching rules here. So the child has to match these pictures. And now you see a living room is a public place. So only a child with the proper clothes will be matched here. And this is a classroom, again a public place. This is a garden, again a public place. Now this one, if you see, this is a room. This is a room with the door and window closed. So ideally, this is a private space for a child. Their bedroom with the door and window closed will be a private space. Their bathroom with the door and window closed will be a private place. But in case somebody is there in the room, the toilet is occupied or there is somebody present in the room, then will the naked boy go here? No, it will not match, because again, somebody is there in the room. So the boy has to be clothed only. They cannot remove their clothes. So this is a situation that we can create such situation. We can take pictures of our home or our school and create such materials and use the children. And we teach them the clothing as well as the touching tools. So this is again the situations. We have to be mindful of the situations also and what rules we are teaching them. When we teach them masturbation, we have to teach them that it has to be a private space at night time when nobody is seeing you and you're free. That is also a rule, that it is your free time. If you have got lots of homework to do, if you have got chores to do, no, then first finish your homework, finish your chores, and then you have your me time. So give children me time, give children me space. So that is where they can do whatever they want, and teach them the rules also. So for masturbation, again, the rules that they have to follow are the rules for safety, for keeping themselves safe, as well as the hygiene rules. So wash your hands, wear your clothes properly, and if needed, the sheets have to be cleaned. That also has to be done. So those rules are to be followed. And as I have mentioned, start the first time the child is seen to be masturbating or self-stimulating, and then limit exposure to TV, as well as limit exposure to public and physical displays of affection around the child to avoid arousal. So that is very much to be followed. And the last point, we are talking about sensory sensitivity. When we are preparing our individuals for relationships, to follow relationships and to have relationships with others, there are some individuals who have tactile defensiveness. They are aversive to touches. They cannot tolerate touches. They cannot tolerate being hugged or being touched anywhere. So for those individuals, we can do desensitization or conditioning to touches. So in that, we give them the sensory stimulus or touches in small amounts, in small amounts for short duration, and then start and go on increasing the touches. So that way, I know of a mother, and she has this 19-year-old boy who did not like to be touched at all. He did not like his hand to be held by anybody. So what the mother did was, she had so many friends of hers, and her friends had daughters also. So she used to create social situations where they used to get together and they used to have lunch or breakfast together, and they used to she used to talk to the girls that, see, I'm trying to train my son to be okay with touches, to be okay with holding hands. So can you help me out here? So with all the rules and boundaries in place, she started training her son to tolerate touches and taking the help of her friends and their daughters. So we can create situations here, and we can create social situations where we can train our children to follow social norms and to follow follow a lot of rules which we need to teach them. Yes. So now when we talk about personal safety rules, there are three main safety rules that we talk about. The first one is the clothing rule, then the second is the touching rule, and then the third one is the talking rule. For touching rules, this slide shows the rules about, we are talking about touching rules. Then touching rules, what rules we have to follow with ourselves and we have to follow with others. So we have this book, The Social Story, in this, and this is the Personal Safety Rules and Boundaries series. We are talking about personal safety rules as well as boundaries and limitations which the children and individuals have to follow. So we talk about what is okay in public, what is okay, how it is okay to touch others in public, and what is not okay. So all these rules have to be followed by us with others, and others have to follow with us. So it is not okay to touch others in their private parts. So that is not okay. And it is not okay when others touch our private parts. That is also have to be taught. So for both for girls and boys, so the touching rules have to be taught. So you can see in the first picture, the boy is touching himself, his hands are inside his pants, touching his genitals. So we have put a cross on the picture and we say, I don't put my hands in pants when I'm in a public place. And then the second picture shows what are the private body parts. When we talk about private body parts, it's our genitals. For the boys, it will be all the body parts which are inside the swimsuit. Those are our private parts. Private part, mouth is also a private part. So mouth as well as chest, genitals and buttocks, all these are private parts. So it is not okay to touch others in their private parts, and it is not okay for others to touch us in our private parts. That is the touching rule. Then this is the slide which shows talking rules. So we are talking about when talking about private parts is a very private thing. It is not okay to talk about private parts in public. It is okay to talk about private parts, ask questions about private parts or anything private with your safe adult in private home. The privacy rules have to be followed here. So the second picture shows the boy talking about his private parts with his safe adult, though it is his mother and father, but he's talking about private parts in a public setting. So it is wrong. In the first one, he's talking about it in private, so that is okay. So when we talk about safe adults, so for children, we have to identify safe adults. What are safe adults? Adults who follow the personal safety rules for themselves and for others are the safe adults. So for children with intellectual disabilities, we have to identify who are the safe adults. For asking for help or for talking about private things, it is not okay to do it with everyone. Or it is not okay to do it with all your parents or all your teachers or all your elders. We have to identify particular individuals whom they can seek help and they can talk about.
Yeah.
Because
when we take sessions in mainstream schools, we don't call out the safe adults for the child, because there the children are able to identify for themselves who is following the rules, who is not. And sometimes it may be that the person who is sexually abusing a child may be a family member. We don't know who it might be. So we never name safe adults for older children in mainstream schools. But here you would have to.
So we recommend that for at home the child identifies, or we identify 2 safe adults at home and 2 safe adults in school for every child. Whenever the child is requiring some help, only those people will help the child. The child knows this is my safe adult and I can go to him or her to seek help and to ask questions. Then we are talking about clothing rules. Again, the clothing rule says that I keep my private parts covered in public, and others keep their private parts covered in front of me. And I can remove my clothes or I can expose my private parts only when I'm in private with myself, when I'm alone in private. And then, so the first one shows that I keep my private parts covered, and second one shows I do not remove my clothes in public. And third one is I do not look when others are putting on their clothes. So we are talking about what it is not okay to do also. So clothing rules, so this covers clothing rules.
Yeah, I think we are.
Yes. So romantic feelings, these we can those people or children who have started showing or interest in the opposite gender, or maybe in other people sexually, or they are feeling attracted to, or they have started developing romantic feelings. And definitely this book, we have this book in our kit, and really we have stating the rules here, stating the limits and boundaries again. So boundary, we're talking about consent as well as personal boundaries. So only if I like someone, I'm feeling attracted to someone, I can ask them, do you like me? Do you want to sit with me? Do you want to be my friend? And if they say yes, only then I can tell them that I like them and we can do so many things together. So this is how we can go about talking about feelings of attraction towards your peers or towards your elders. And it is okay. We have to emphasize on the expression part, or sharing your feelings, or seeking help. So I can talk and discuss my feelings and my problems with my safe others, and my safe others would be happy to listen to me and to help me. So we have to tell our children that if you need help, if you have any questions, come and ask us. We are your safe others. Come and ask us. We'll try to answer you to the best of our ability and to help you out in whichever way we can, so that they feel safe.
Do you have this romantic, what they can do, that if you could?
Romantic feelings book, I don't have it, ma'am. It was not there with me. No, I don't have it. No, it's not there with me.
Just a minute.
We have it on the drive, then maybe we can show the. Okay.
Yeah. This has.
Yes. So this is the romantic feelings book. Here we are talking about in the first before this. If I like someone, I should ask them. I can ask them, do you like me? And they say yes, then we can do so many things together. But if they say no, then it is okay to say no, and I have to respect the other person's choices and other person's feelings. And if the other person likes me, then we can sit together, we can study together, we can spend time together, but keeping the limits and boundaries in place. So so that is, yes, that is how we can respect each other's personal boundaries. And sometimes when I feel confused about my feelings, I don't know what to do about such feelings, I can always approach, I can go and talk to my safe others and discuss my feelings with them.
And we have even done that I feel attracted to my teacher, or like.
Yeah, it often happens. Children know they develop a crush, or they develop no attraction towards their teacher, or it can be any elder person. So such feelings often go away after some time. I need not go and tell the other person. So that is what that is what we can say. We can teach our children, and then talk and discuss, and our safe adults would be happy to listen. Most of the time, children don't approach their adults because they feel that the adults will start scolding them. They will start questioning them and scolding them and punish them. So they don't approach us. So that is why it is very important for us to make the children comfortable and have a feeling of rapport with them and feeling of understanding. So that is very important to develop.
I think we are at the end of our thing, and we can take questions. Yeah.
Ma'am, thank you for such wonderful presentation and sharing of material, and both from a scientific point of view. We are here witnessing what happens when people who are into service delivery, working day in and day out with people with disabilities, understand their concerns and put some scientific literature, how excellent it would be. It's very simplistic, easy to understand. You've shown us. Now I'll open this forum for discussion. Already two questions have already answered, ma'am. That is how to get this wonderful material. Those who are not able to see the chart that madam has written, info@infoldindia.org, you can write and they will respond to you. Now moving on to, there are two questions. One has come, like often even I come across the same question from my own trainees also. Like, the moment we see higher levels of severity of disability, like more severe, more profound, then we get sort of, confused as to whether the same kind of approach will work or not. And here, therefore, I'm not surprised to say a question that in case if a person has severe and profound intellectual disability, whether the same approaches will work or not, how we can handle the same issues, whether it is safety, sexuality, and sexual expression as such. Ma'am, over to you. Between you two, any one of you can take that question.
Renu, would you like to take that?
Yeah, sure. In case of severe disabilities, I have often come across children with autism. I work with basically children with autism, and I have come across with children who are considered to be very lower functioning. Their cognitive levels are quite low, and they don't understand much whatever is being taught to them. So again, as educators and as facilitators, our duty is to teach them the basics, and try and teach them, and keep teaching repeatedly till they learn. The first thing that we have to identify is how does this particular child learn? So what is the level? What is the present level of this child? What is the functioning level of this child? How does the child learn? Does the child learn by doing things? Does the child learn by looking at it? Or does the child learn through body movements, through rhymes, through poems, through songs? So first you have to understand what is the type of their learning, what is their learning style. And you know that, yes, my child learns visually and is very interested when I show them visual things and videos, they learn very fast. So then you can start using the visual material that we have in our kit. Now we have designed the kit in a way that these materials can be used with children who are intellectually on a lower level, or cognitive disabilities, who have higher cognitive disabilities, as well as for higher functioning individuals who have better cognitive levels. So the same thing, same puppets, same pictures you can use with them, with all kinds of children. For children, what we suggest is start with, at least the first step is start with naming the body parts, understanding the body parts. This is your private part. These parts need to be covered all the time. You're not supposed to touch it. So how do you teach them? Show them it is okay. It is okay. These are the private parts. Let's start naming them. So name the private parts. The child might not be able to verbalize. So give them, ask them. Touch the penis of this boy, or touch the bottoms of this boy. Can you touch and show me? So ask the child to hold the child's hand and make him touch and point. So that way, so you can provide prompts, you can provide support, and to make the child learn. And then after that, you can use these cards and ask them yes and no questions. This child is standing in a public place, he's standing in the park, he does not have his clothes. Is it right? Yes or no? Or put a cross on it. So simple ways you can use a lot of these cards and teach them yes and no questions. You can teach them to sort. Is this okay? Is this okay? Or correct behavior? This is right and this is wrong. So use sorting activities, use matching activities. So these are the basic activities which the children can learn. But do teach them and teach them repeatedly, and take everyday opportunities when you are helping them bathe, when you are helping them wash themselves. At that time, teach them, talk to them, And don't help your child by washing their bottoms with your hands. Hold the child's hand or apply soap to the child's hand and hold the child's hand and then help the child in moving his hand and cleaning his bottom. That way provide supports that the child needs and slowly withdraw the support. So I have seen that this works. Initially, I might have to hold the child's hand and move it. Later on, I will reduce the support. I will use only this much. I will only touch, and I will see that in a gradual manner, in a progressive manner, I can remove my support. I can remove my prompts. So this way we can teach the children everything.
Sometimes the parent says that I can't follow this for myself because I have to keep the door of my bathroom open because my child has to be watched at all times.
Yeah.
So then how do I maintain my privacy? So there the thing is that maintain the privacy that you can, as much privacy as you can. Maybe have a curtain inside, maybe have a half curtain inside. You can look over that curtain and see your child. So you'll have to adapt something in your bathrooms. You will have to adapt something. And sometimes you think, oh, there's a child with ID. Usko to kuch pata nahi hai. Let me change my clothes in front of the child.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is again, no.
Yeah.
So changing clothes or taking
your
bath.
permission, can I take the next question? You made it very clear. What you both are trying to say is that the overarching principle is safety, personal safety, dignity, and the right way of developmental appropriate ways of expressing oneself. And if these three things are there, any responsible adult should try their best to accommodate these things. Like safety is a concern, we don't compromise saying that the child cannot understand, or the child is severely disabled, or the child is so dependent physically, so we can just go ahead with our own plan. So none of these things work. Rather, we need to understand these three overarching principles: safety, well-being, and their developmental expression. Accordingly, as responsible adults, we need to come out with our own ways. As Renu has said somewhere in the beginning, that simple to complex, like very very mundane things we can start. We can understand what is the current level of functioning, and from there we can start. Now, for the lack of time, let me rush. This is my apologies, because participants would like to hear more from both of you. Now, the next question that I would like to have is that the marital aspects. Madam, would you like to take it up? Otherwise, we centered so much on the sexuality, safety, and life skills. Do you think that there is scope to address this question here, or we can take it in some other time?
What is the marital question?
It is simply that sometimes the marital aspects are there for adults with intellectual disabilities, and how to approach this entire thing. Maybe marriage and sexuality. Then, yeah.
I'll just say a very little bit about this. Interacting with this lady, Friends of Stonehill, and they have adults with disabilities there. And they said that this often comes up because the person has some idea of marriage. And that idea is like, oh, they will be living happily ever after kind of thing, and no responsibilities at all. So they said, okay, they put the person through, okay, now if you are, let's do a role play, let's do a theater, and you are married to this person now, and today is your marriage, and then now the next day has started, and now what will be there? So where is the food? How do I get the food? Where are the clothes? Where shall we live? Where is the house to live in? So they actually acted it all out, and the person was like, oh, so all this comes after marriage. Things like that. And please not to use marriage as a treatment or as to get a lifelong caregiver for the person. That is not fair.
Madam, one more question that is there is that here perhaps we, coming from a professional background, it might be easy for us to discuss on topics related to sexuality, masturbation. We are talking of private parts, safety, etc. One question is there: how the parents would be responding to that? Maybe would I request Renu to start with answering this question? Renu, why I'm asking.
Yeah, sure. So thank you so much. And this is a very valid point. that most of our parents, as a parent, even I think only since 5 years I've started talking on this topic, and I started since I joined Enfold. Before this, I was a biology teacher, and I was comfortable with the topic of sexuality, but I was not discussing this with my students or with my family members also, because as a taboo topic, we are not, we as as social beings, we don't discuss about sexuality or these things with anybody other than just with those adult jokes. So, but I have seen, I have talked to parents, and I've been training parents. I've been holding sessions with parents. In the first session, they can't even utter the words, the names of the body parts. They can't say. So they'll whisper, and they will be very shy. They'll feel embarrassed asking questions or talking about it. But the more we talk about it, the more we read about it, we listen about it, we know we have to ourselves feel confident about our own sexuality first, that it is okay. It is all these sexual parts are our body parts only, normal body parts only. So we talk about these in private. That's only the difference. That is only the difference. Otherwise, no, just as my head and eyes and nose and shoulders, these are my private parts. So in case, and we need to talk about this because these are such sensitive parts, and they're required. The function is so important that everyone, each one of us, as you said, that we are all sexual beings. So they are a part of our life, and everyone has these. So so we have to know, we have to develop that confidence, that comfort first ourselves, and then feel that okay, it is okay to talk about these in a respectful manner, and in a using in a scientific, maybe not using colloquial words or just like in a layman's language. Let us start using the right terms and talk to them about the right functions about the private parts, and why they are used and how they are used, and it is okay to talk about.
And there was a question on how effective. So I just wanted to show this parents' feedback that is there on our website. And also I wanted to show you some of the resources that are available on our website. So here are some testimonial. This is our enfoldindia.org website. Here under the programs, we have programs for persons with disabilities. And this is the parent feedback on the Suvidha kit. So they have used and they have found it useful. I would just quickly show you the resources that are available. So here under resources, you will have publications. And in the publications, if I go down, there's a Demystifying Sexuality reference book. It's like a 300-page, very well-researched material. And again, thanks to Dr. Thomas Kishore, he helped us out here. And there is a handbook for special educators, Demystifying Sexuality, for students and teachers of special educators. You can download this. It has a lot of case studies. It doesn't have any tools. It's a handbook, and it has various topics on persons with disability. I also saw one question about laws, and that part is also covered here.
Now, since you stopped at the law, now there are two things. For example, whether the same law of POCSO or Juvenile Justice Act also apply to people with intellectual disability here, though I know the answer, number one. Number two, in some rare situations, we might see persons with IDD on the side of perceived as offenders, and what I'm learning from both of you is that sometimes the sexual expression that seem to be abnormal might be stemming from the fact that there is some skill deficits, but the law may not see this point, right? So will they be treated like any other offense? The offender as the same law will apply? I think that is the underlying connotation. That's what I'm seeing in that question. If we have any light to throw, otherwise my colleague Dr. R.P. Jagannathan also is here, Dr. Harish, and I have seen Dr. Maushami Bhomik from NIPID, Delhi. Any one of you can pitch in with the permission of the speakers.
Yeah, I'll just say that in all of these crimes, the intention has to be proved. There has to be a sexual intent. Now, beyond that, please, the people you mentioned, Dr. Thomas, would like.
Dr. Aarti, Dr. Harish.
I will, I'm Dr. Maushmi from
Yes.
Delhi.
Yes, Dr. Maushmi.
You can hear me?
Pretty well.
Ma'am, I will answer I will just add something, but before that, I just wanted to know, like in early childhood care education, we start as early as, what would be you think that ways we can carry it out so that early teachers and early parents can understand this fact very early, so that crime and all abusive and violence can be reduced or removed?
Yeah, there is so we say you begin from birth onwards. Obviously, before he begins to speak and all, it is what is the expression on your face when you're changing the child's diapers and when you're cleaning the child. And then you begin naming the parts of the body very early, like when you name other parts of the body at 1.5 years of age, you are teaching them head, neck, and all that. You're also teaching susu place, kaka place, and that's where we say susu and kaka, and not necessarily penis, vagina, vulva to a 2-year-old child. And so that is where you begin. And there is a Surakshit app that we have developed, which you can use to teach children about personal safety. It's a free app, free downloadable app in 10 languages, which has personal safety rules, what we were talking about. And there is a Bal Suraksha app, again in 10 different languages. It has what do you do when the child is 0 to 2 years of age, from 2 to 4 years of age, entire personal safety education is there.
Thank you, ma'am. Another, in my POXO representation to different courts has given me this observation that mostly family members that abuse the, member of the family, and mostly females, but boys are also not left. So what will be your comments?
Yeah, this is absolutely true. About 97 to 98% of abusers are known to the child. So to say beware of strangers is the biggest eyewash we do in the name of personal safety education. We tell the child, beware of strangers. Humne kaam khatam kar diya. No, 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 no. The abusers are sitting right next to you in your homes.
None of the curriculum of early childhood care education or primary education covers sexuality and education.
Yes, one review had come to me and I said, you have all the other cognitive development, this and that. Where is the sexual development of the child? Teach it. And right now we are working, we're in the middle of the project with Ford Foundation, where we have introduced this into the curriculum of B.Ed teachers, social work curriculum, and counseling curriculum, and special education. I saw Aarti Raina from SSK here. She was part of that curriculum. Nursing curriculum and public health curriculum. So that when these people come out, teachers, special educators, social workers, counselors, nurses, they are equipped with how to talk about personal safety, how to handle sexuality, all the rules, laws, and all that around it. So that is a project that you're doing with Martin Luther Christian University, Christ University, SSK here in Karnataka, and some other nursing colleges.
Lastly, I will not drag more, but the question has so many last.
Thank you, Dr. Maushmi.
I have just one answer. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. No, I
never got this platform, and it was amazing. And Sangeeta ji, Renu ji, and Thomas Garu, you've done an excellent job. I just want to do immediately. There was a curriculum change in the diploma, and and going on B.Ed. But I'm surprised, ma'am. Despite we all are aware, we have not put this curriculum for the teachers to understand children with disability. Thank you.
If you have any leg in the foot in the door, please put it in. They have put it in Christ University.
Ma'am, I'd like to respond to that. Dr. Maushmi is in a very good position to be an advocate for curriculum, because she herself is a faculty in special education, working in a national institute, that in Delhi. Dr. Maushmi, we all look forward to listening from you and learning from your experiences, how to make the curriculum more inclusive like this. Now, moving on to the next question, that in case if an adult, I do not know whether it's adult or child with IDD, the question is that they're exposed to pornography, how to handle it, whether in terms of this, the same kind of safety and life skills, how to approach that.
You want to?
Yeah, so when we were showing you the materials, and in the kit, we have also focused on other safety rules like phone safety rules, internet safety rules, and road safety rules. So in the internet safety rules and phone safety rules, again, we talk about these pornography and watching content, such content. So it is not okay. So the first thing that we suggest all the parents and educators to do is that monitoring of the individuals or the child's internet activities. So first of all, in case you can do this apply locks or apply filters where the child or the individual cannot access porn sites, but still in case they get exposed to it, then we talk about the rules that it is, so whatever is being shown in porn is acting. It is all for entertainment purposes. People are acting in that. It's not what happens in life. Then maybe we might have to talk to, in case they have been exposed to porn, active porn, then we might have to teach or talk about intercourse or sex maybe. But ma'am, could you please?
This is one picture from the
book, internet safety book. Yes. So we have.
It does say that if we don't watch pictures where people are not following the clothing rule or the touching.
Yes. So clothing rules, online content also, there also we have to talk about this is not okay to watch these. But in case they have been exposed, ma'am, what would you like to say here? In case they have seen.
Yeah, what you explained, and then so that is why we try. You see, even pornography, regular people watching it, the children want to act it out and they want it. So it will be the same effect here also.
Yeah. So the rules have to be taught. We have to clearly tell them that this is not okay. This is just acting. And some people like to watch it, but it is not okay for us to watch it because it gives us a wrong picture. It gives us wrong information.
Here, I just would like to respond. It's not the question of people with disabilities or intellectual disabilities or something. What is our own perception, attitude, right? Vis-a-vis pornography. The same thing applies here also. When we are talking about safety and well-being, how you would like to deal with the same thing. And here, I really appreciated the way Enfold has brought it. Like when we are teaching children or persons with disabilities about the safety, somebody without clothes or enacting on certain things, it is not safe. Therefore, it is also not advisable, not from a moral or any kind of ethical. These are the angles we are talking from the point of safety and well-being, and how we build a discussion dialogue around that is very important. Now the next question is that repeatedly the participants would like to know the exact app name. Madam, maybe either of you can type that, so we'll have the benefit of that, because sometimes in Google it will take us to the wrong places.
Dr. Thomas, I was just I think it's already typed on the chat.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. I was just interested in knowing, are both developed by Enfold themselves, both the apps?
Yeah, with Enfold and UNICEF and CDAC. And if you don't get the link directly, because all the paid apps come up on top, sometimes you find it difficult to find it in the language you want. So if you could send we have a mobile number, Enfold has a mobile number. You can request on WhatsApp, and we will send you the link. So the Enfold number, I'm just searching for it.
Since Dr. Arati, you are there, would you like to throw any light from your own experience of counseling or handling families from the point of the marriage and the post-marital adjustment, from the point of developmental disabilities, anything that you would like to enlighten the participants?
Thank you, Dr. Thomas. I think the presenters have been so comprehensive that I don't know whether I should add anything at all. But a quick tidbit, I think marriage and sexuality is a very important topic that cannot be brushed under the carpet. And what's important is that most caregivers look at it as a solution for what after me issues, which ideally should not be looked at, as Sangeeta madam pointed out. So I think what's important is to sensitize them from the beginning about being comfortable with their sexuality, looking at marriage only if the person is possibly having the ability to understand and take on at least some responsibilities or have support systems to do that. And then we can look at what after the issues. But otherwise, it has to be independent. Sorry.
Thank you, Aarti. I wanted to point out 2 videos that we have, again, available on our website, which you can watch, which talk about sexuality and this. So let me just take you there. Yeah. So let's take you to our website back again. Yeah, among the resources, there are also PPTs and videos. In this PPTs and videos, you will find videos. These are again developed under the Ford Foundation project, Demystifying Sexuality video. There are 17 of them, and they are talking about attitude towards sexuality and disability. Then there is how to talk to children about personal safety, and how to discuss with adolescents about personal safety, how to discuss sexuality with adolescents. There's quite a lot. So just wanted to point this.
Even quite a lot is an understatement put in such an very informative. Dr. Harish, would you like to take over the session and give any final comments before I invite the resource persons back to give us a take-home message?
Yes, sir. Thank you for chairing the session, and I think the number of people who stayed till the end of the session itself indicates how well this is received. I think at one point it has touched more than 170. So I feel happy to be part of this. I request the participants that every 4th Friday of every month, we do conduct these R2R sessions on separate teams. So I'm happy that Enfold has joined hands with us for this month's session to share their expansion accounts and to share a lot of information as a resource that is easily available for all stakeholders to use it as per their needs. Because many times it is the lack of resource which makes people challenging in terms of communicating and passing on information. I think Enfold people have done a lot of groundwork in developing these culture-free or resource materials that can be used by anybody. And I also want to thank my other colleagues who also have played a significant role. My junior colleagues, Anchal, Kishore, Revati, who prepared flyer, who were played significant in circulating this information to as many as possible, which made this possible that many people have participated in this. And following this session, as well as in the previous sessions under R2R, we have uploaded at YouTube on various themes like for a guardianship, how to apply for a guardianship, or how to get a disability certificate for persons with intellectual disabilities. Those are all available on YouTube under R2R Nimhans. You can just type, and this also will be available soon. So I request all the participants to consider joining for our future sessions and to share this information about to other stakeholders who would benefit with these kind of sessions. 4th Friday of every month, usually we will circulate the details of subsequent sessions. And I profusely thank Dr. Thomas Kishore to chair this session and to spare his time from his busy schedule and to share his thoughts in this. Sir, back to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Harish. It's always a pleasure to interact with you and to associate with you and your team. You know my respect for the work that you are doing and your team is doing, and it's always learning and enriching. And no words will really do justice when I say how happy I am again to be here along with the Enfold team, because it's not only didn't give any contribution, rather it was very enlightening for me to understand and approach the needs of the persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities from a different perspective. And lots of regard and respect to you, madam, and I wish you all the very best in your future endeavors. Now, before I hand it over from a traditional departure, I would like to first conclude my thing and then request you to give your take-home messages. There, what I'm understanding is that the respect for body parts should be there right from the beginning. And we know that, like in any language, colloquial language, if you see, private parts are part of the slangs and abusive words, but they are not in the mainstream thing. So respect for body parts is very important. And second thing, the approach to persons with intellectual disabilities, sexuality, like any other developmental aspect, has to be multifactorial, and it cannot be a hogwash kind of approach of bad touch and good touch. And Renikaji has very well explained that what is good touch from an external point of view might be really not a what is a bad touch may not be bad touch from in an individual point of view. And then there should not be shame and guilt associated with any of the aspects of development. And as adult caregivers, we need to be more responsive than reactive. Then we'll be in a better position to address the needs and come out with appropriate protective mechanisms. And certainly our agenda is not going to be how to eradicate certain so-called problem behavior, but rather how do we facilitate a full expression of an individual in a developmental appropriate ways, and that also is socially, emotionally, it's fulfilling both to the individual as well as people who are intimately involved with them. So with this, I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity and all the participants who are here. Madam, back to you for take-home messages.
You have encapsulated them so well, Dr. Thomas. I would just say one line that sexuality is a part and parcel of our lives and our bodies. So enjoy it, respect it, and support others in doing the same.
Madam Renu Singh.
Sorry, my internet was off for some time.
Any take-home messages, ma'am? Though you explained so well,
Yeah, thank you, sir. So I would just like to add, as a parent and educator, so have all of us need to have compassion and understanding with our individuals with intellectual disabilities, and we need to understand that that they have some difficulties and we need to help them overcome it or learn in the best possible way that they can. So provide all kinds of support, and with having that kind of compassion and understanding that yes, they can learn it, but it's our responsibility, our job to make them learn and understand. So whether it is sexuality or whether it is academics or fine motor skills, anything. Though as educators we feel that there's so much to teach. So personal safety and sexuality etiquettes education, we keep postponing it till it becomes very something like a big problem, and we have to do problem solving. So let us not wait for the problem to start coming up. Let us start teaching our children personal safety and sexuality, all these rules and etiquettes from the beginning itself as early as possible, with understanding and with a lot of affection and confidence as well as comfort. So that all that we need to have for ourselves as well as for our children. So thank you so much. And in case you want to get in touch with us, do get in touch with our team. We would like to support you in our best possible way. And so please, yes, feel free to get in touch with us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity, sir. Dr. Harish, Dr. Thomas Kishore, And indeed, it was a great pleasure and privilege for us to address on this platform and talk to so many of you and share the work that we have been doing. So we are also learning a lot from everyone, to every experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Over to you, Dr. Harish, to close the session.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Again, I want to thanks Enfold team, Sangeeta ma'am and Renu Singh for sparing with their time. I think this we thought of conducting somewhere a few months back. Unfortunately, we could not take it forward. And not only now, I just wish to share a couple of my experiences which shaped my thoughts on this. Maybe around 6-7 years back, when I was in a district hospital where I was giving these disability certificates. I still remember a 55-year-old lady who came to me asking that after giving a certificate, she was asking that she wants hysterectomy done to her daughter who is 25-year-old. Now, one of her concern is that she may not be able to prevent any abuse after her lifetime, but she doesn't want her daughter to become a pregnant. So that indicates the kind of complex situations how some family caregivers go through, where as a clinicians or therapists, we will not have any kind of answers or some kind of even, I was speechless a kind of time. So, and another similar situation at the same time, somewhere a middle-aged mother came to me asking that her son is rubbing his genitals against some domestic animals. So she was clueless how to do, and she was worried about the villagers might see it as a kind of offending behavior, how they would perhaps even try to assault him. So I was surprised, because not surprised, I don't know, I was speechless, and my training was insufficient to provide any kind of assistance to those families at that time. And maybe subsequently I learned many of these things, but now I may be in a better position to support them. I don't really say that I have better answers now compared to past, but I'm in a better position to understand their distress and concern, and I may be able to redirect them to these kind of resources which I should be more aware of as a trainee itself. So I feel that these opportunities of partnering with various like NGO like Enfold or other resource persons will help us in addressing many of these complex questions that these families will have. In that way, I feel that I found a good resource where now I can use these resources to guide at least some of questions that would be raised by some people who would approach us. And it's a wonderful learning experience for me. And I feel that many of my colleagues as well as the participants also have expressed repeatedly that it's very good informative sessions. They enjoyed it and they learned it. I request all of the participants to reach out and Enfold people by mailing or through calling them for any further support in this regard. And some of the people also asked about the future sessions. All the people who have registered with us, we will share all the future session flyers with them, and also we would like to circulate it to as many as possible. So you please keep a watch on our future sessions, and in the YouTube also you can you can see our previous sessions which are recorded and uploaded. Once again, I want to thank Sangeeta ma'am and Renu ma'am and Thomas sir. All, of course, my other colleagues, entire team who has been behind in making this happen as a to reach many people.
I also wanted to thank Sakshi Agarwal. She is part of our Suvidha team for support with the PPTs and all the other so many things. So thank you, Sakshi.
Sir, thank you, sir. So we'll wind up the session. Once again, I thank one and everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.